Welcome in Chicago Cubs fans. It has been too long. I apologize. Just after doing the winter meetings Kyle Tucker video, I got pretty sick. So the Bears content has also been lacking lately, which Bears fans, I will be uploading more videos for you guys. Different look. As you guys can see, we got the jerseys there in the background. That is because my lovely girlfriend got me a desk, a chair, a webcam, which if the video seems a little fuzzy, I'm still trying to figure out the settings on it. She also got me a ring light just so that, the video looks a little bit more solid. So I greatly appreciate that. And if you happen to tune into this at some point or listen to a part of it, thank you very much, and I love you for that. But Cubs fans, this is about you guys. So, without further ado, we will do a jersey of the day. Just got a road blue, Nico Horner. But yeah, I I still feel a little bit nasally. I don't know how much you can hear that, but definitely a little bit on the nasally side. I did figure out how to get the echo out of the headset finally, so that is also that is also a thumbs up, my friends. But with everything going on, I wanted to check in with everybody, and yeah, I just want to see how everybody's doing. I want to go over my thoughts on where the Cubs are at currently, because I think that they're in a pretty decent shape right now. Um, the way that I'm seeing it is the Cubs are putting themselves in a very good position to actually make a difference in the NL North this year. And to me, the difference between last year and this year is that you're going into the beginning of the season with a true star on your team. And what I mean by that is the Cubs have always had fairly good players, uh, but since everybody was traded away in 2021, we have not had a superstar, if you will, right? Like the last superstar that we had was like the 2015, 16, 17 Chris Bryant, right? And we never really had anybody that was just the guy on the team. We have had superstar level contracts without superstar level of output. I think we could all agree there. Looking at like the Jason Hayward contract, um, everybody thought that Christopher Morel with his pop could have been a superstar. He kind of reminds me of Javi Baez a lot, which does it suck because I wanted to see Christopher Morel succeed in a Cubs uniform? Sure, uh, but I do think that Jed is finally going in the right direction as far as um, not being so conservative. And I know that that sounds kind of ironic with the Bellinger trade that we will be discussing, but really, you know, when the Cubs traded for Kyle Tucker, their odds to win the NL, they basically broke even with Milwaukee. Um, their WAR went up into the top eight in the league, I want to say, and Kyle Tucker is no slouch. I mean, I'm looking at my notes here, and this guy, when the Cubs traded for Kyle Tucker, the big question that immediately popped up is, will they extend him? And I would really love for them to extend him. I just don't really know if that'll happen in, mid-season, if you will. I think that. in order to uh, in order to in order to extend him, you're going to have to throw out more money than the Cubs have ever put out, right? Um, I think that Kyle Tucker is going to be somewhere in the four-ish hundred, 425 range. Those are the numbers that I could see him being at. I don't, and here's what's crazy too, right? I seen on Twitter like a day after or 2 days after the trade had happened that Kyle Tucker's like 182, yeah, 162 game average is comparable to Juan Soto, and Juan Soto just got what, 670, I want to say. And Kyle Tucker's numbers over the last 3 years are comparable to Juan Soto, which is absolutely insane. Um, Looking at his career stats, 274 average, 353 OBP, 516 slug, 870 OPS, a 5.4 WAR between 21 and 23, and a 4.7 WAR in 2024, which is crazy considering he only played 78 games due to injury. He was projected to be about a 6 WAR player had he had played an entire season. And for the Cubs to get that level of production out of somebody who, um, out of out of somebody that we haven't really seen the likes of since Chris Bryant, it's a good breath of fresh air, at least to me, right? It seems like I said, with Jed being in a walk year on his contract, if you will, it makes sense that he's starting to make these big moves. I don't know if that would warrant, him getting a contract extension per se at the by the end of it. I don't know if that makes a good case for him if the Cubs do seriously contend for the NL. Um, but for what you had to give up to get a guy like Kyle Tucker, even if it only is for 1 year, um, I think it's worth it because you sent Isak Paredes there, which I think that works out really well um, for Houston because he's a pure pull hitter. So those boxes out in Houston, that's going to help him a lot. Cam Smith to be sent out there with Isaac Paredes, I think that shows two things for Houston. Is that one, they don't intend on keeping Paredes. Uh, they probably don't think that Alex Bregman is coming back, and Cam Smith automatically becomes number one in their farm system. Uh, which good for them. But the Cubs get a consistent 5 WAR player and a 3-time All Star. With his accolades, I I can finally say that I believe that Jed is actually trying to go um, all in, if you will. I think that whether they extend him or not, Kyle Tucker shows that Jed Hoyer is trying to go in the right way, and that also tells me that that also tells me that the Ricketts are starting to open up a little bit. Again, it depends on if they're going to extend him or not because of the type of money that he's going to command. Like I said, his stats being similar to that of Juan Soto. I don't think he's going to be Juan Soto money, but you know, 375 to 425. Would I give him that over 10 years? Yeah, sure. I think that the Cubs could definitely afford it, um, especially with, trading Bellinger over to the Yankees. I think that helps a lot too because um, with trading Cody Bellinger, one, you got a right-hand pitcher in return, and you also dump what is it, 23.5 of Cody's 25 or 25 million of Cody's 27 million per year AAV, I want to say. Um, so, you're spending 5 million over the next 2 years, which comes out to being um, which comes out to being 2.5 per year. So, would I've liked to seen Cody stay? Sure. I think that uh, having Cody, having Cody, Kyle Tucker, and then Seiya Suzuki, those three, one right after the other in a lineup, would have been super dangerous for any pitcher to go up against. However, you have a really serious logjam out in right field with Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, um, Cody Bellinger, and potentially Mastroboni if he makes the roster because he has played right field. But I think that it was an effective move just for the contract sake of um, being able to potentially extend Kyle Tucker or to be able to go get help elsewhere, whether that be third base, starting pitching, or um, bullpen help. And that brings me up to uh, the next part of uh, what I'm talking about with this Cody Bellinger part is the Cubs are about 50 million from the tier one luxury tax now, and uh, with them being opened up because of Cody Bellinger being gone, they could still go after one more bat. I like Alex Bregman, Yoan Moncada, or Josh Rojas for that role. Those are the top three WAR third baseman right now. Those are the best options, I believe, right now. If you are able to land one of those guys, that could really, really, really help the offensive production because the one thing that we have been talking about in the last several videos that I had done is that the Cubs' offensive production had that massive lull in the summer where over 60 games they went like 37 and 20, 37 and 23. So they had really struggled for a little while there, um, which surprisingly, starting pitching in the bullpen actually kind of held their own. It was just the offense didn't really give them any run support, right? And um, I think that having this money opened up to you, you could either go and get your final big bat because everybody kind of anticipated that they were going to add two of some sort. Um, they said that they were not going to go in the direction of the upper echelon tier of players. And I initially thought that they were going to go after um, the guy up in Milwaukee because of Craig Counsell. And then that didn't happen. And so without them going after him, everybody thought that they were going to sit in the mid tier. But Alex Bregman, or not Alex Bregman, I'm sorry. Um, Kyle Tucker is absolutely that upper echelon type of player, especially to get him in a trade, even if it's like I said, just for a year. It's not really the end of the world. And then if you can extend him, even better. Which he's also said that he's open to anything because of the history of the Chicago Cubs. He thinks that the way that the roster is built out, they have the potential. And when you're looking at the production lull that they had last year, Kyle Tucker is the kind of guy that you can absolutely put the offense on his back. And instead of going under 500 over 60 games, you can absolutely play better than 500 ball just without touching your starting pitching or your bullpen. Um, but also, when it comes to that, when it comes to the pitching, uh, they're looking at one more uh, rotation guy. They're heavily invested in going after Roki Sasaki. which I 100% agree with. I think that he would be a really great fit in our rotation, especially with the connection to Suzuki. That would be absolutely fantastic. I would love to see him in a Cubs uniform. I think that he would fit in very well as probably a number two guy, uh, maybe a number three, because I think that the number one is pretty close between Justin Steele and Shota Imanaga right now. Um, so I think that if Justin Steele's not your number one and it's Imanaga, Roki, and then Steele, I mean I mean that's a stacked top three of the rotation, no matter what order you put them in. I'm anticipating that Justin Steele would be the opening day starter. That's just my opinion. Um, that's also a little bit biased. Justin Steele is my guy. Um, but they've also been linked to Jack Flaherty, and delusional me wants them to go after Corbin Burns. I would love to have Corbin Burns, one, just to kind of stick it to Milwaukee after the way that they lost him to the Orioles. And I mean, Corbin Burns is just a dude. I mean, he really is just a dude. He's absolutely insane. He's just consistent. Uh, doesn't really spend a whole lot of time on the injured list. He's just consistent. He just chews outs. Um, and then as far as the bullpen goes, they are linked to Holby Milner and AJ Minter, and I do believe that both of these guys actually spend time with the Milwaukee Brewers. So again, there's a connection to Craig Counsell, and I do think that a connection to Counsell can be very good because uh, Craig Counsell has always been very good at managing pitching. I've always said that during the regular season, he is a genius at managing his pitching, and that's part of the reason why the Brewers always did so well. Even when, you know, if you exclude not last year, but the year before, when their offense was absolutely insane, before that, their offense wasn't necessarily, top tier numbers wise. They were always kind of middle of the road. They weren't necessarily the greatest. I mean, they were good. Don't get me wrong. The Brewers' offense was definitely good. They just weren't, the top tier greatest. Um, but Council made up for that with his pitching and how he managed his pitching and the way that uh, the only thing that I never liked when I was living in Wisconsin was how he managed his pitching in the postseason. That's the only thing I want to see him change with the Cubs if the Cubs do manage to punch a ticket to the postseason is how can Craig Counsell manage his bullpen? And Craig Counsell is just a genius. I mean, you look at some of the things that he did with some of the rosters that he had in Milwaukee. It was crazy to think that you know he could make Milwaukee with that small of a budget and that kind of team that was built out. I mean, they had superstars here and there, like he had Corbin Burns, he had uh, Christian Yelich, he had what's his name, Devin Williams, he had he's I know that Wade Miley was like a superstar for like a year and a half in Milwaukee. So, Craig Counsell's always managed very well. I've never had a problem with his management style in the regular season. I think that the way that I also, can kind of give him a mulligan in the first year with the Cubs because one, nothing really changed. He basically worked with the roster that he was given when he signed with the Cubs, and he also kept the same coaching staff all the way around. He didn't make any adjustments whatsoever year one. So, you know, not only did he not really get any help roster wise, he had the exact same coaching staff. So I kind of figured that year one was going to be learning, trying to figure out what he had who worked best where, who could he trust in the bullpen, what order did he like the starting rotation, barring injuries. And I mean, there was a lot of times during the year, or probably up until June, where the uh, the starting lineup varied quite a bit. It wasn't the same a whole lot. The Dansby Swanson was, up in the third spot a couple of times. Ian Happ did lead off. Nico Horner did lead off. Um, I think Mike Talkman and Michael Bush might have had a leadoff game in there. Well, I know definitely Mike Talkman, but you know, you when you go from one organization where you had a lot of the same pieces of the puzzle for several years, and then you got to go to the Cubs, you have the talent there, but you got to figure out who works in the best scenarios and situations. So that's why I'm intrigued and excited to see what Council could do in year two, because I want to know if, now that he knows what kind of lineup he would like to, roll out, given the fact that Bellinger's gone, but you got Kyle Tucker. You kind of know what your starting rotation is at this point, unless they add another starter, whether that be Sasaki or, um, like Jack Flaherty in a trade or whatever. You basically have the same personnel, but you also have new coaches. You got a new first base coach, you got a new third base coach, you have a new pitching coach, you have new trainers. I mean, they replaced a lot of people in the coaching staff and trainers and whatnot. Like, it was a pretty big shuffle. I'm surprised that it wasn't reported on more than it actually was, because it was a lot of big moving around. And I thought that it showed that he is starting to mold he's starting to mold the team into his style. He took that first year to make sure, or kind of, figure out what he has, try to find consistency. He found some consistency before the offense got bad, and then when the offense got bad, it stayed consistently bad. And then he got that consistency back, kind of right before the end of the season. So now it is, can he can he elevate it? Basically, is what I'm looking for. Can you elevate it? Can you make it better? And can you sustain it? I think that it can be sustained, because I mean, the other piece of the puzzle was that Amaya was getting a lot of looks and PCA was getting a lot of looks, and then also Michael Bush kind of came out of nowhere. So you have these young players too who don't really, um, you didn't really know what they had as far as talent, as far as sustainability, uh, reliability, dependability. You didn't know what you had in those guys either. PCA really came on strong at the end of the year. Um, Amaya kind of came on at the end of the year. Michael Bush was just, I'm surprised. Well, I can't say that I'm surprised, but he made a very strong case to be a Gold Glove finalist at first base, which I 100% believe that he should have been. I don't think he should have won the Gold Glove, but I think that he got kind of snubbed on, not being in that conversation towards uh, the end of the year. But again, just kind of my opinion. The other thing too is, can PCA and Michael Bush and Amaya take that next step forward in 2025? Because you know that PCA is going to be your center fielder for a really long time. You have the potential for Michael Bush to be the next, Anthony Rizzo for your team. I'm not saying that, he'll be the face of the Chicago Cubs like Anthony Rizzo, but he could solve your first base problems, because since Rizzo left, first base was a toss up. Um, and Jed Hoyer also came out and said that they're going to lean on Michael Bush, and Michael Bush is going to be the first baseman, which it's 100% deserved, because he's a natural third baseman. He switches to first, and then damn near puts up a Gold Glove season. He also had that stretch where he hit 5 games in a row where he was crushing home runs. I mean, he sees the ball well. He's very Mike Talkman like, where he really does pick and choose what he wants to swing at. So, I think that he will take that next step. And I think that PCA is right behind him because PCA is just so fast in center field. Like, center field is not, you don't have to worry about him out there. You just got to worry about him keeping control at the plate. So as long as he's able to do that, I think that, I think that the offense could pick up quite a bit, not just by adding Kyle Tucker, but also too, Nico Horner had a surgery in the offseason, so did Dansby Swanson. So it was pretty obvious that they played through injury through pretty much all of 2024, because that I felt like it was not the Nico Horner that I was used to seeing, where he was punching fastballs the other way. Like, he turned into a pull hitter, like extremely horrible pull hitter. And that's just not Nico Horner. That's just not like him. So it health has to do with a lot of it. Pieces like PCA and Michael Bush and Amaya taking the next step is part of it. Um, when you're signing a guy like Carson Kelly, uh, are you hoping to see like a 2023 Jan Gomes out of him, or a 2024 Jan Gomes that led to him being DFA'd? There's a lot to look forward to, and I think that as this roster kind of gets a little bit polished as we go into spring training, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's only like what, a month, like a month and a half away, because it starts in February, right? Yeah, I think pitchers and catchers report like the end of January. So yeah, I mean, it's already coming up quick, and um, I still think that there's question marks for sure. It'll be definitely the bullpen. I still want to see the closer get addressed. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think that for the most part, um, this all boils down to Jed is finally going in the right direction. I enjoy seeing it because us as Cubs fans, we deserve to see a big splash in the trade market. Um, we haven't seen that at all since, well, Jason Hayward's signing, and we all know how that turned out. But just seeing that big move being made is a breath of fresh air. It's a step in the right direction. I really hope that it works out because I don't want to see it. I'm not saying that I want Jed Hoyer to get an extension if he succeeds. I'm just saying, he did a really good job building out the farm system. Excellent job building out the farm system. You're top five. Now it's time to really focus on that big league level because, Tom Ricketts came out at the beginning of last year and said, we will take the NL Central. And, well, we kind of fell flat on our face. So there is also that. But, it's all. It's all for me at this point, it is you got to put your money where your mouth is. You, you told us last year that you were going to go all in, and the all in didn't work. We knew that you couldn't just run it back and hope for the best. Um, and again, I think that trading Bellinger and getting rid of most of that contract is definitely a good thing on the upside because now, like I said, you can go after somebody for bullpen help or starting pitching or go get one more bat. There's options. Certainly, there's options, and I'm just hoping that Jed Hoyer meant it when he said that he's not done yet, because I think that on paper last year they put together a really good roster. Um, it just so happened that that production lull in the offense didn't really do any good. Because at the beginning of the year you were really good on offense, not good in the bullpen. Middle of the year, you weren't good offensively, but your starting pitching basically held you in games. And then at the end of the year, you started getting it together and you started winning series again. So, you know, I would say that as 2025 starts, I mean, you got to get on it fast. Like, you cannot take a week or two to really start clicking off games. Like, you got to start winning immediately. And it all starts with that series in Japan against the Dodgers. But, um, you know, I like I said, I think that it is finally a step in the right direction for Jed Hoyer. I want to see him do what he says he's going to do. I want to see him succeed. I want to see the Cubs succeed. It has been too long. You did a great job building out your farm system. You started at the bottom, you got it all the way up to AAA. You did a lot with the trades and what you got back for Rizzo, Baez, Bryant, everybody from that winning team. You gave Kyle Hendricks one more ride and um, you let him finish out his entire contract with the Cubs, and now it is time to just move forward. It is time to just take that next step. But Chicago Cubs fans, you let me know down in the comments how you're feeling about this with the Cubs trading Cody Bellinger, getting Carson Kelly, managing to get Kyle Tucker. Let me know down in the comments below how you feel about everything that is going on, being $50 million under the threshold. Should the Cubs spend all of it and bolster their roster as much as they can? Let me know what you feel down below. And as always, Cubs fans, I will catch you guys in the next one.